to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding each other, one for all, and no gender or faith, we are one. Everybody will get peace of mind. Shoulder to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding each other.
Wow. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, viewers at home. Welcome to the Plateau Interfaith Youth TV debate. My name is Benson Ogbe and I'm your host for tonight's show. The message is clear. Young people are saying that peace is possible on the Plateau. And today we have young people that are going to do battle. Not the battles using guns and machetes, but the battle of words. And I have two teams going head to head in this battle. I have on the proposing team the Ivory team. And I have the opposing team, the Burial team. Help me appreciate our judges for tonight. Viewers at home and audience in the studio. The topic for tonight's battle: Nigeria's discovery of oil is a curse and not a blessing. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Help me welcome the debaters!
Resolved. Nigeria's oil discovery is a curse and not a blessing. I begin with a quote from Gandhi. He comments, "A nation's culture resides in the heart and soul of its people." And I add, but what if the heartfelt and cry of these people are daily neglected and not respected? My judges, the moderator, the timekeeper, my co-debaters, audience, I greet you. My partner and I are here today to strongly argue with facts and prove that Nigeria's oil discovery has been a curse and not a blessing to this great nation. I traveled back to history in 1956 when oil was discovered in a small village in Niger Delta, Elobiri. Then our forefathers were so excited that we have found something to smile for. But it's quite unfortunate that today we are not smiling, but rather we are in pain and misery. Because that's what curse is. The definition of curse, something that causes misery and pains upon humans. And I say, in 2004, it was recorded that Nigeria is the first or the most largest producer of oil in Africa, the 11th in the world, averaging 2.6 barrels per day. But today, we are so far and so way back from development. We are so underdeveloped. In 2005, it was said that Nigeria, from the sales of crude oil, is earning $2.6 billion US. That's an equivalent of 345.8 billion naira. Oh, and myself and all the well-wishers of Nigeria will ask, where has this money gone to? Where have we spent the money to? Oh, maybe we have spent it to those on the streets. Maybe to the poor. Maybe to the widows. To the orphans. Maybe on the roads. Maybe on public schools. Maybe on our power sector. Or maybe even on our judges who are looking so attractive. Or maybe on our partners who today are here to tell us that we are blessed by oil in this country. While all we see is hardship. All we see is pain. The people on the street cry daily because we do not benefit from this oil. I put it to you that we are so proud of other resources, but certainly not crude oil in Nigeria, because it has blinded us from seeing the cocoa in the west. It has blinded us from seeing the rubber plantation in the east. It has blinded us from seeing the ground-up pyramids in northern Nigeria. And even the oil has blinded us from tin mining, even in the Middle Belt, which in the 1980s, it's said to have produced to this economy 3.4% growth. And I say, how come we are so underdeveloped that we are blessed with oil? Tell me, and I ask, how is it that a 55% of this nation's population is living under $2 per day and said that we are blessed with oil? It can never be. It can never be. Now, I end with a quote from one of the founders of OPEC. He comments. He said, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, this nation, oil will definitely bring us ruin. We will see. It will bring us ruin. For oil is the devil's excrement.
The panel of judges, my co-debaters, my viewers at home, and audience, I, Adewale Adetoyese from the Berry team, I'm standing in front of you today to let you know exactly that our discovery of oil is in fact a blessing to us. I'm opposing that motion that say it's a curse unto us. Let me just give us a very small example that will convince us exactly. You see, when Nigeria discovered oil in 1956, 4 years later, we got our independence from the colonial masters in 1960. 3 years later, our gross domestic products that was recorded, they recorded that the growth was at 9% growth, 9.4% growth. I got this data from the Federal Bureau of Statistics. Nigeria quotation was made there, and they say prior to the independence from 1950 to 1960, our growth rate was just 4.6%. And then we are only practicing agriculture. We have not discovered oil. We discovered oil, and in 7 years later, our gross domestic product was increasing at 9%. Is that a curse unto us? Is that a curse? That's a blessing. Let's go. All of us are shouting of subsidy, subsidy, subsidy. Where do you think we can get the money to pay the subsidy, if not for the fact that we are oil producer? Only oil producers of the world have the money to pay for subsidy. Anywhere else in the world, go and check data. You can't get it. In fact, our neighboring country, Niger, is selling oil to its populace at the rate of 200, equivalent of 200 naira per liter. But because we are blessed with oil, that's why we are being able, we pay it to the extent that we have been enjoying oil to 65 naira, not until my president just say, okay, let me give you some. Let me show to you that if we are not producing oil, what it's going to look like. Now, that's just simple. If you go to Lagos City, you will see Tomiland Bridge. If you go to Ogun State, you will see Ajaokuta Oil Complex. Let me give you an issue on it. Ajaokuta Steel Complex was constructed in 1964. The cost of its construction was $2 billion. They do not get it anywhere else other than from oil production. Now, Microsoft student Encounter give us this quotation. It says, if not for the fact that the oil that we got in Nigeria was enough to give us these capitals for this edific. They use edific. I think we need to check dictionary to get the meaning of edific. For us to build this edific capital project, we will be able to do it. Now, before independence and before the discovery of oil, we have just a handful of universities in Nigeria. But after discovery of oil, Mr. President just yesterday signed 5 more universities in Nigeria. He signed them. They can start operations, give us 120 universities. I think a kudos to our oil. A kudos to it. That's just the third point. Now, let's go. If not for the fact that we have oil in Nigeria, I wonder where we're going to get the gas with which you can generate electricity. Our Kanji Dam was built the construction of it started in 1963. Actually, it ended in 1967. They used $408 million. They do not get it anywhere else other from this our oil production. Now, that Kanji Dam cannot supply us enough. We have to go to the next level of power generation, that is thermal generation. They use gas to generate electricity. Where did they get it? From the oil that we discovered. That's a blessing. If anybody just stand up here and say oil is a cost unto us, let me tell that man that he is ingrate. Simple. He has been ingrate to the God that created oil and also give us the power and the eyes to discover it when we discover it. Now, in 1967, the civil war broke out in Nigeria. If not for the fact that there is oil in the southeastern part of Nigeria. What happened prior to that period? You have, with this little, I'm very, very sure that you are already convinced our oil is a blessing unto us. Thank you, my audience.
106 universities that will be greatly underfunded. 116 universities without proper infrastructure. Let me start by a quote from Dr. Iwa Udu, who published a journal on Nigerian economics. And I quote, he says, Nigeria's optimism and anticipated prosperity as a result of petroleum exploration has turned into a harsh austerity, and economic stability has continued to remain elusive since 1970. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you on a voyage down the negativity of petroleum to Nigerian economy. It is no new knowledge that today Nigerian budget is made based on a benchmark of the price of a barrel of petrol. Now, in 1985, something dramatic happened when the budget was made on $28 per barrel of petrol, and yet the price fell to below $12. Now, the questions Nigerians are commonly asking every day is, when you begin to make these budgets like this and the price falls, what happens? Secondly, let me tell you about what happened to the agricultural sector. There is no hidden fact that today the discovery of oil led to the neglect of the agricultural sector. It was stated clearly in the National Development Plan of 1975 to 1980 that oil was expected to produce, or I said was expected to contribute at least 40% to the gross domestic product of Nigeria. That can never compare to the 63.4% that agriculture contributed during the 1960s. That is two. Now, number three, allow me to share with you the insecurity that oil has caused in this country. 4.5 million cartridges of AK-47 rifle speak for itself in the Niger Delta, found in one bunk. How do you account to that? That is as a result of the funds acquired through the exploration of oil in that region. Let me talk about unity. It is no hidden fact today that names like parasites, pests, scavengers, vultures has emerged. Who are the scavengers? Who are the pests? Those are the people that are referred to, or those people are the people that are called pests are those that come from non-oil producing regions. It got to a point that today, states have forgotten about their God-given talents and endowments, that every state wants to belong to the League of Oil Producing Countries in this country. Now, let's go further. There is no fact, or it is no hidden knowledge, that today everybody in the Niger Delta region complains about environmental pollution. Through what? Gas flaring, oil spillage. I am a student of science, and I know the effect of gene mutation on the life of every individual. Today, the children in Niger Delta and everybody in Niger Delta is at the risk of gene mutation. Let me go further by stating, it is no hidden fact again that as a result of this oil has turned Nigeria into a mono economy, subjecting Nigeria to a lot of fluctuations in the international market. Today, Nigeria is the only country, or let me say Nigeria happens to belong to the country that is solely oil exporting. Ladies and gentlemen, it is no hidden fact that this so-called oil has turned into a cost for us in this country. Now, the only way out for us, out of this oil menace, is to bring out a direct monetary and fiscal policy that will stabilize the economy and bring about economic growth. Thank you very much.
The discovery of oil in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria in 1956 is not only a blessing but a redeemer, a child of necessity that came in the nick of time to save and shape the destiny of this nation. I acknowledge you, my judges, the moderator, the timekeeper, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen. I am David Deborah Nyango, standing here to tell you that the discovery of oil in Nigeria is not a curse, but a blessing. Since the discovery of oil in 1956 till date, oil has accounted for about 85 to 90% of the federal government revenue. It has been recorded, as it was published in an article by the Center for Energy, Petroleum and Mineral Law and Policy in 2000, that oil, the proceeds of oil, accounted for about 90% or over 90% of the Nigerian foreign exchange receipt, 70% of the budgetary revenue, and 25% of the nation's GDP. Tell me how the boost to our GDP and increase in our economy can be a cause. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be frank to ourselves. Also, the coming of oil in 1956 gave us what we call investment opportunities. For the first time in this country, we have multinational corporations having interest in this country, coming into this country to invest. And you and I know that when foreign investors come into this country, it has a ripple positive effect on our economy. If you have not benefited, perhaps a lot of your relatives may have benefited from scholarships enjoyed from these multinational corporations, just to mention a few. Also, it came with employment opportunity, giving a lot of Nigerians and their families a source of living, a means of livelihood, a sense of purpose. How can you call a person's source of livelihood a curse? How can you call a person's means of living a curse? Of course, it is a blessing and not a curse. Again, it serves as a catalyst for national development, which is evident, of course, in the roads we have, the schools we have built, our airport, electricity transformer, and a host of others. If development is a curse to any nation, I will be the first to agree with my opponents that indeed the discovery of oil is a curse and not a blessing on Nigeria. But because it is otherwise, and I believe it is so, and I believe that you believe it is so, I believe that the discovery of oil in Nigeria is a blessing and not a curse. It has helped us to upgrade our ICT. It has helped us to have renewable energy. It has helped us to have research technology. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, is this what you call a curse? How can a source that has boosted our GDP, a source that has given us employment and investment opportunity, a source that has served as a catalyst for national development, a source that has helped us to have renewable energy and a host of others, be a curse? To say that it is a blessing is in fact a gross understatement, because the discovery of oil in Nigeria is our only source of self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and self-governance. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, oil, I still insist, is a curse. Let me start by asking my co-debaters, can you look at Nigerians in the eye and tell them that the oil industry can employ more Nigerians than the cocoa, rubber, cotton, groundnut, and benefit industry joined together? I don't need an answer. I think it is no. The question we're asking is this. Today, Lagos stands as the most stable economy in West Africa. Lagos is not oil producing. Some of the most stable economies in the world today, some of them are not even oil producing, oil producing countries. Now today, South Africa is the most stable economy in Africa. South Africa makes mainly its money from mining and food production. Mainly food farming, if I say. Now, the question we're asking every day is this. Just yesterday, the president, or 4 days ago, the president came out to say that he might not actually see that the Shaw project might not actually see the light of day. Why? Because he has not been able to achieve a total subsidy removal. The question Nigerians on the streets are asking every day is this. What becomes of the 27 or 37 naira increment that has been made on the fuel pump price? Now, just yesterday again, or 4 days ago, a media agency reported in Nigeria that fuel is being sold for about 500 naira per liter in Bayelsa, Yenagua. Tell me now, ladies and gentlemen, is oil a cost on these people or a blessing? I am here, we here in Jos Plateau say we don't have oil, but we buy oil for 180 naira per liter. They have oil, they have refineries, yet they buy oil for 500 naira per liter. We brag about refineries, anticipated development here and there, yet none of these refineries work. Some of the most monumental structures we have in Nigeria today, we don't have oil to tank for it. Example, the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. They were universities that were not built by oil money. I mean, oil contributes 63% as of 1960 to gross domestic product of Nigeria. It employs more than 80% of Nigerians as of then. Until this day, majority of Nigerians are still meeting ends needs by oil. Then tell me, how can we refer to this as a blessing on this country? When yet the discovery of this thing has only led to backwardness and corruption. Thank you very much.
I had from the Berry team. I'm here to treat some of the points raised by my opponents here with some decorum. You see, I don't find it very, very convenient when my opponents come down here and tell me that our oil is not a major source of integrating our unity. Meanwhile, it is the interest of the federal government of Nigeria in the oil that is being produced in the southeast that make them say, by all means, Biafran, you're not going to become Biafran, you must stay as Nigerian because you go with the oil. This means by now, if they have gone, Yoruba might also have gone and not also go, which means that we are no more Nigeria anymore. That means that oil is in fact a unity factor. Now, with what you have been experiencing in Nigeria, you cannot blame oil for it. It is the incompetency and the corrupt natures of our public office holders. And I must not say because this money is a oil money, don't be corrupt. If somebody is not competent to give you good thing, you must be competent to give you bad thing. That's it. Your money is there, then it will chop it if you cannot use it to make better projects for you. It is not the fault that we have the oil or the oil money, no, but the fault that most of people that are over there in Abuja and some other places else, they are the ones that are making these errors. He also claimed that pollutions that come from oil is about to give mutations. I think he has just committed a blunder. Let me tell you frankly, I am an agriculturalist. From the school that I came from, my project supervisor, Dr. Ayodeji, he was doing a PhD project, and he said that the pollution from agricultural products, the fertilizer, the herbicides that are being washed off from the farms that went to streams and water bodies caused enough poisoning on fish that you consume, which means that these herbicides can deposit in your tissues and you can't know what can happen. Anything can happen. Anything. A lot of other things. Yeah? Which there means that the agriculture that this my man is trying to tell us that we should rely on is something that can even create more problem to us. Thank you, everyone.
That was some battle. You will agree with me that this has been fierce and also entertaining. Right now, I'll ask the audience to start casting their votes, and I say I take the judges' comments.
That, in my own judgment, was an intellectually exacting session, I must confess. But again, to the first team, that's the Ivory team. I liked, the fact that you started with a quote from Gandhi, and he actually laid a foreground for what you wanted to do, but you didn't go on very well with your point. But your supporting speaker came over and was able to fill the lacuna in your own argument. And I think I must say that you promised you were going to take on a voyage, and that was exactly what you did. A good job on your side. To the other team too, I think you tried your best to actually do justice to the understanding of the issue, but I think you missed out some key points in terms of very legible examples that will have further driven home your point, and of course a couple of grammatical blunders here and there. But in all, I think we had a good debate.
Certainly, this is a very exciting debate. It's telling us that young people are thinking, and they're bringing up ideas to the society. The Ivory group, I don't know, there seemed to be an idea that we needed to pay to get your names. Both speakers didn't really tell us their names, and I was wondering why. But again, you took time to talk about a few statistics, which is good, even though you stopped at telling us what the statistics represented, whether it was a daily thing. It was specifically the daily output of 2.6 million barrels. So generally, you know what you want to talk about, so you've been able to tell us that. The second group, quite exciting, and I think you needed to work hard on the choice of words. Words like ingrate scares me a lot, because I'm looking at someone who is opinionated. I mean, I have a different view with you, doesn't make me an ingrate. So probably you need to look at that. You are confident of what you want to talk about. Your linkages to your statistics, great work. Linkages to reality. Especially, I must commend the second speaker to have taken time to link reality to what we're talking about. So generally, I'm excited to be part of this.
I appreciate the quotes and the authorities that the Ivory team were leaning on. I mean, this shows that you've done your research work and you came up with real facts. And then for Beryl, I like the confidence, but when you're too confident, sometimes you might just miss the point. But for the second speaker, that's for Beryl, I really like the fact that your gestures and your facial expressions and all that, are things that we can relate to, and are things that show us that you actually believe in the things that you're saying. Both teams have done a good job.
I want to announce the winner of this battle. But before I do that, let me call the contestants. Please step forward. Put your hands together for them. The winner of this first session is the Ivory team! we've come to the end of today's episode. This time around, the Ivory team has qualified for the semi-final. Join me next week as we come again for another fierce battle. Good night, Plateau State!
Shoulder to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding each other. One for all, and no gender or faith. We are one. Everybody will get peace of mind. Shoulder to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding